welcome back, everybody. It's the first show of 2026 of the NHPPA Show. We had a huge break there for Christmas, but we worked hard for that break. We did 2 marathons. We did the 12 days of Christmas for like 15 hours a day. I think we earned a little break, but we're back and we're ready to set you guys up for what's coming in 2026. Jason, Shawn, Teresa, and Eric are all here. And everyone let us know where you're signing in from. We'll share that on screen as the show goes on tonight. And if you'd like to say some opening words, Shawn, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. And very, very pleased to have everyone here tonight. You guys don't know, but we look forward to these shows because it's an opportunity to interact a little bit. It's an opportunity to be live and just share with what's going on. We really don't script these. And we enjoy the feedback that we have and keeping you appraised of what's going on. We will be talking a little bit about Bill 224, which is coming up for second reading on the 24th. Unless there's any changes, things are always changing in Parliament. And, you know, I've been having a lot of discussions with people. And there's a little bit of frustration because nobody understands. I was actually, talking to a consulting firm that is in Ottawa and actually volunteered to give us some advice. And there's really, there's no understanding as to why the government won't move on these issues and Health Canada won't move on these issues. They're very politically unpopular for the government. There's no upside for them taking the position that they take. And yet here we are feeling like we're knocking our heads against a wall and needing to build an ever bigger coalition to bring about change. You know, we were, when I say we, my wife Teresa and I were down in Mexico, and we visited this shop where the doctor running it is 4th generation in his family. I kind of felt like, I'm in a Strauss herb store where there's this long family tradition of training. And this doctor, would provide pharmaceutical remedies, but also homeopathic remedies and natural health products. Basically, it was just interesting because they've got manufacturing facilities there. They've got different people trained in different modalities, but they were able to do something that we're not able to do. We don't have the freedom that they enjoy. And it was just interesting. I mean, we were there and people were taking advantage of the services and products. And I don't know, it's kind of like, it's like, when they passed a law in a province I was living in that you couldn't, it became illegal to gas up your car without prepaying. And then I would go to a state or a province where that wasn't the case. And it's like, oh, wait a second, I don't have to prepay. And you notice there's a difference. And it's just, we notice there's a difference. And we actually found it quite exciting. So let's jump into the rest of this show. I'm just welcoming you. I do want to let you know, we really appreciate your support. We appreciate your moral support. We're going to express the need to really light this 224 petition on fire and continue on with that letter writing campaign. It's something that you can do every week. You can do it every day. You can send a different letter off our site. But we really need participation, and so inviting you to do that. And then obviously we survive on your donations. We're a very small outfit. We're very lean. We're very proud of what we do. But I can tell you that we're very limited. We'd like to be a bigger team. We'd like to be doing more. But we're limited by your donations. So also I want to thank those that have been donating. Thank you very much. And encourage everyone else to jump aboard and help us that way.
That Volkswagen van ain't going to pay for itself. Ain't going to get itself a new engine.
Well, I think we're going to have to sell it once we get the steering fixed. So, so if anyone out there is, hot to get a Volkswagen van, let us know. I mean, it's historic, it's iconic.
Now it is, yeah. It'll be I think it'll be a race to sell it or come up with another excuse to use it again. We'll see what happens.
Well, I know Teresa was saying to me just the other day, honey, is there like any way we can for weeks on an end have no life and put in, 16-hour days driving across Canada and getting, all fatigued. Now, when I'm kind of laughing about that because it was one of the most rewarding experiences of our lives, because at every event there were people being encouraged and encouraging us. And, we do make a difference when we do things. And so it was exhausting. I know, like Jason and Eric, it's like, what's an 8-hour day? Like during that charter tour, what's sleep? And leading up to it, like, it was just crazy, but really proud. And then we've got all this content now that hopefully we can use to change the narrative. So
big news coming about content soon, but not now. Stay tuned. To see what the temperature in the room is, let's see what's happening on the socials with the feed. Eric, what's going on in the social scene? What are people talking about?
Ooh, lots of stuff. Lots of interaction on the socials these days. Well, I should say maybe it's just the winter blues, but overall, I find it interesting that on X, there's lots of likes, Twitter, not that many comments on X, but over on Facebook and Instagram, it's just crazy over there. So maybe people are more afraid to talk on X. I thought it was the free speech platform, but maybe that's not the case. One of our ongoing campaigns is the topic of cloned meat, and that one really struck a nerve. So you've probably seen, but Shawn has done a number of videos on this and how Health Canada is distracting us with the labeling issue when the real focus, of course, should be on whether we should allow it at all. So you can learn more on the NHPPA website and watch the whole series on the YouTube channel. We could probably have a whole show actually on the comments from that topic alone. It's been quite wild. So comments like, I'll give you a few samples. A lot of people are saying that because we are the animal study, that's why they haven't done the animal studies. Okay, so yeah, there was another comment. I guess we are the human study as well. So since there have been hardly any studies, animal studies or human studies, I guess it's us. It's kind of like the safe and effective thing a couple of years back, maybe. I'm not too sure. But more comments like, as adults, we have the right to choose what goes into our bodies and to choose for our children. If you're going to overregulate health supplements and vitamins, it makes no sense that you would not overregulate these artificial and untested products. Somebody says, I wouldn't be surprised if there already are, in other words, putting cloned meat into the food supply. Twice in the past 2 months, I've had suspicions about the texture of chicken breast and ground beef. And just from my side, I actually had the same thought a few days ago. A little bit of spongy chicken. It was a little bizarre. I'm amazed at how informed people are, though. A bunch of stuff I didn't know and might be worth looking into, such as this comment. Cloned meat contains SV40, which contains cancer cells. I didn't know that.
Shawn, do you have any knowledge of that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that either. So
there was 2 comments about that. One comment says they use SV40 because they're the fastest growing cells, which speeds up the time to clone the meat. Oh. And they say this is all part of the WEF agenda and the New World Order. So I don't know if that's the case, but our PM said something about that recently.
NHPPA takes no stance on that, but we do have an incredible series from Shawn that those of you that are subscribed to the newsletter will know very well. Every week, you've been getting a new part in an 11-part series of videos from Shawn explaining the potential plan behind cloned meat, the dangers, the way the rest of the world deals with it. And so if you aren't subscribed already to the newsletter, You can see nhppa.org/subscribe scrolling across the screen now, and get in on now and get this information now before we move to the next phase. Thanks, Eric. Go ahead.
Yep. Somebody else said Microsoft Copilot artificial intelligence claims Health Canada is not putting cloned meat in the stores. It claims you are misinterpreting the information. And how can an AI lie? Well,
I think Shawn might have an explanation for that. I guess it's technically correct, right? It is not in the stores.
So they say, right? Well, I'd suggest you ask ChatGPT, for example, how many R's are in raspberry. I follow this guy on Instagram, and he calls out AI for all the different errors. He does it in a funny way. So AI spells it out correctly with 3 R's. And then when asked again, how many R's are in what you just spelled out, it says there are only 2 R's. So it's conflicting. It's really, yeah. Anyways.
Is that a cloned raspberry?
Possibly, yeah.
How many R's in cloned?
Yeah, it would probably say 3. So one person in the meat business said, our brands have notified our suppliers that we will not accept any modified nonsense. And our suppliers agree and will respond. So that's good to hear that some people are taking it very seriously. So the meat stuff, well, you can just check out the comments. It's quite interesting. A lot of people have a lot to say about that. Bill C-224, the bill which takes NHPs out of the therapeutic product category so that they're not regulated like drugs. The call to action posts linking to the e-letter are still the main drivers. On Facebook especially, we see comments like signed and shared, why treat vitamins like controlled substances? And a majority of Canadians use these, don't make them harder to get. There's a lot of frustration, it seems, with the 2023 changes, I think, from Bill C-47, and the support for MP Blaine Calkin's push to reverse it. A lot of people are mentioning the US system. It's a better model. Supplements there are treated like food. And so Canadians obviously love their natural health products, myself included. 70% of us use them, and the safety record is pretty solid. No credible deaths from properly used natural products in Canada. But of course, we see a lot of issues with things like acetaminophen. I think I pronounced that right. Meanwhile, access is getting squeezed on NHPs. Well, there's a rhyme there. That could be a song, right? Bill C-224 is about fixing that misalignment, protecting choice when doctor wait times are through the roof and chronic issues are rising. So the comments show people aren't just complaining, they're actually taking action by sending those letters. So that's awesome. The e-letter campaign picking up steam. You can go to NHPPA.org, Bill 224, send a message to your MP. So we see a lot of supportive notes like signed, why treat vitamins like fentanyl when they're helping millions? And a shout out to Blaine Calkins. Blaine Calkins is on to something here. Restore the old rules so families aren't priced out. We've done a lot of posting of clips from some of the world's greatest health show videos. We'll be doing a lot more of that coming up. Jason Watkins' video, that's been getting some good views. In one of them, he talks about his background in research, building the natural health business. And a lot of those comments and shares on Facebook, a lot of people are sharing their own personal stories. And one of them, this hits home, natural products finally helped my family when nothing else did. A lot of appreciation for the emotional side of it too, how it affects real lives. One viewer wrote, Jason's story shows why we fight. Natural products saved my loved ones' quality of life when conventional options fell short. Another one, my mom reversed her arthritis symptoms with natural products after years of medication. Don't take that away from people. Another person replied, I support access, but we still need some oversight. Not everything natural is automatically safe. And of course, we agree, but that's why NHPs already have strict manufacturing rules. So the issue is really classifying them as high-risk drugs makes no sense. So it's inspiring to hear those personal stories. kind of reminds us of why we're doing this. We also had a thread going about modern farming, depleted soil nutrients, apparently up to 42% loss in some key minerals compared to decades ago. And that's why it makes supplements even more essential. Can't get it from your food, well, you need it from somewhere. So the replies are very supportive. People are saying, this is why I take my multis every day. Even organic isn't enough anymore. Thanks for pointing this out. So there's no big debates there, just a lot of folks agreeing with that. One Quebec viewer said, buy from your local farmer, stop buying at Costco and Walmart, which I thought was kind of funny, Walmart. We're living in scary times, from GMOs to glyphosate sprayed on our fruits and vegetables. The end of real food is approaching fast. Not a good thing. Lastly, we had a question about the Charter of Health Freedom. Maybe, Shawn, you can update us on that. He says, any updates on the Charter of Health Freedom? What's next after presenting it on the Hill? Do you have anything to add to that, Shawn?
Yeah, so just so everyone knows, we were getting a whole bunch more petitions because the Charter Tour created, obviously interest in it. Yeah. So it was only in the last couple of weeks that we sent the final batch to MP Blaine Calkins and said, okay, give them to the Clerk of Petitions, and the Clerk of Petitions then has to vet them. So that's going to take a bit of time, and then they'll be entered. And then after that, I think we'll run a hunger strike campaign where we'll ask you to go to Parliament Hill. No, I'm just kidding. So
he made us all just watch Gandhi. I think that's where that's coming from.
Oh, yeah. Watch Gandhi.
That was a good one.
Yeah, everyone should watch Gandhi again, the movie.
Watch Gandhi, yeah.
Doesn't matter that you watched it 20 years ago. Watch it again. Yeah. It will inspire you. It's funny, I asked Jason and Eric to watch it, and they're like, okay, we're ready to go.
It had been 40 years for me. I saw it in the theater. I had to take and it reads a lot different. The core message is there, but it reads a lot different now, especially with the work that we're involved in. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I never saw it before, but I was quite impressed. Very good.
Well, it's an example of somebody living their principles and leading others to live their principles at great personal cost.
Yeah,
but also to great effect. And it's really the difficulty that we're in is we've all forgotten that freedom isn't free, and that unless we actually take action and stand for what we believe in, that worse things happen. So, and I think we have to understand, like, things go back and forth, concerning freedom and government control, and we're just having a repeat. But the nice thing is once citizens wake up and take notice, then we can pull this back and get it more reasonable again. What we want with health policy is well, let's just have an honest discussion about health policy. Mm-hmm. So, there was one comment, oh, well, NHPs still have danger, etc. Well, in risk management, there's what's called an ultra safe line. So if a class of products does not cause more than one death per million of the population per year, you actually have such a low safety signal that you can't measure whether or not any government intervention is going to make a difference. So conventional wisdom would be like, don't even bother if you don't even have the ability to measure whether it would make a difference. But NHPs are actually like so much safer than that ultra safe line. There's like, for there to be one death per million of the population per year, that would mean that NHPs would have to cause 40 deaths per year in Canada. Well, I haven't seen a credible report ever in Canada, not even one, and certainly not one a year. And yet, like 1 month of acetaminophen use, the brand name's Tylenol, but it's off patent, so everyone makes it. 1 month of acetaminophen use in Canada causes more death and harm than the entire natural health product industry in our history. So, and yet, as the health show shows, there are a large number of Canadians that are only alive because of natural health products. So shouldn't we be promoting them? And we should at least be having that discussion where we're actually acknowledging that they save lives, they reduce suffering. And, when we're talking about risk, we're really being silly. Now, everyone agrees, no fraud, no adulteration, safe manufacturing practices. Like, nobody's ever argued about those things. What we're arguing about is putting them in the same category as thalidomide and Vioxx and fentanyl. There's higher penalties than for, dangerous street drugs. This is, absurd. So
just to tie that all in, initial question was about the moving forward with the petition for the charter.
Yeah.
The charter. So we need to get it counted and entered. I'm sure hoping that, we'll be encouraging people to attend in Parliament the day that it's tabled. It would be wonderful to have that gallery just full, which seldom happens in Parliament. Usually it's largely empty. So just stay tuned, because we're not sure. And if you have any good ideas, we are all ears, because we're in this together, and that's why we've made a difference.
Fantastic. Anything else from the social side there, Eric?
That was pretty much the last point. Just overall, very determined crowd out there. That's for sure. Everybody's connecting the dots, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think clone meat really is a hot topic that really lit a fire. It lit a fire so hot that at least publicly, Health Canada backed down from their initial position.
I saw the other day that apparently CRISPR pork is actually...
Yeah, we'll talk about that in Buckley Unfiltered.
All right.
So it's really kind of a vindication of our discussion paper, where we're saying the real purpose of all of this, which, you don't have to be a psychic here, because in Health Canada's scientific, which is not really a fair way to describe their paper, in their position paper, where they explain, no, we don't need labeling. And they literally go out and say, like, they acknowledge all of the problems. Like, nobody wants to sell you cloned meat. You can't make money from it. Nobody wants it. It's a train wreck. But they actually put in their paper, but, if you want to introduce biopharmaceuticals or genetic modifications into the population, cloning's the way to go. And it's coming to a grocery store near you. This is what Eric's talking about with CRISPR pigs.
Yep.
Genetically modified pigs.
And an overarching conceit in your essays on it is that, yes, of course, they just said they were going to dump it in the stores. There was giant outrage. And then they said, oh, okay, well, we won't do that unlabeled. We won't do that now. Don't worry about it. You allege or theorize that is partially by plan, or at least they're ready for it when it happens. so that we go, okay, we won a great victory. We got Health Canada to back down. We can go back to sleep and not worry about it again.
Yeah, can I just elaborate on that? So what you're saying. So, and this is really important for people to understand, is like, government isn't stupid. So Health Canada can't come out. Listen, okay, so if their goal is to have you eating cloned meat, if their goal is to introduce biopharmaceuticals into the population. So let's just talk about mRNA or mRNA vaccines. So, in Japan, they're already doing trials on this self-replicating version. So it's almost like a virus. It just keeps making copies. So you just need a very small amount introduced into you, and all of a sudden your body is manufacturing this self-replicating, program to then create whatever the antibody is that it's telling you to make. So you don't need a big jab. You basically just need a couple of molecules, and you're vaccinated. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're for it or against this type of vaccination. What we're talking about is consent. Because whether you're for it or not, there's a lot of people that aren't for it. and way more now, just because the reality is a lot of people, I know a lot of people that are sick from the last mRNA vaccines. So how do you get the entire population vaccinated when you know actually resistance is growing? And again, I don't care whether you're for or against or whether it's a good idea or not. The reality is public opinion is turned against it. And those that are reluctant to submit to that type of vaccine is growing. We put it in the food supply with it being unlabeled.
Oh.
They basically share with us in the Health Canada's document, they tell us this is the advantage, is introducing biopharmaceuticals and genetic modifications into the population. They're talking about the human population. Nobody wants to sell you cloned meat for a profit. Let's just talk cattle. You know, cattle farmers, they're doing it, A, because most of them love it, but B, like they love the lifestyle, but B, it's a business. It's how they support themselves. To clone a cow, you have to take the egg of a cow and you have to take the genetic material out, and you have to take the genetic material out of the cow you want to clone, out of a cell. This is onerous, by the way. And you have to take that genetic material and insert it into the egg that you've cleaned the genetic material out of. And then you have to manipulate that egg with electricity and chemicals to get it to think that it's now a fertilized egg with complete DNA. And there's a huge failure rate. And then of those eggs that become, you know, you call it a zygote, a fertilized egg. Most of those then, and if the embryos, if it will fertilize and get going, most of those very quickly on, they die. Of those few that actually will grow to be where, oh, wait a second, we've now got a cow that can be delivered. There's a huge problem, is most of them are too big. So you have to C-section to do the birth, which now is a problem for the cow that's delivering, because it's like humans. Once you've done a C-section, your ability to do a natural birth is now complicated going forward. So now you've created an expense there. The birth is more expensive. And of those cows that get delivered, a lot of them die right away. And those that could grow into be adult cows, where you're going to sell the meat, they've required way more veterinary care on average. So they have more antibiotics. They have more pharmaceuticals in them. You can't make money doing this. Like compared to just put a bull in the field and all of a sudden you've got all these calves, right? So nobody wants to do this to make money selling you cloned beef. There is zero business reason to do this, and then the consumer doesn't want it for obvious reasons. Is introducing doing this it creates a whole bunch of other genetic modifications that you can't predict. So what's the purpose of this? Well, the purpose, again, so let's just get back to mRNA vaccines. So if you clone a cow, just sticking with cows, I mean, it could be a pig or anything else, but if you clone a cow, you know, you've genetically modified a cow so that cow is making a self-replicating mRNA vaccine. Well, now you've hit the pay dirt, but you can like start breeding that cow, and some of the offspring are going to have that thing, and off you go. But the real fast way to introduce that in the population is now just clone that cow. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. It doesn't matter how many failures it is. You start cloning. And all of a sudden you have enough cloned cows. Just start introducing a small bit of that into a larger portion of ground beef, and you've vaccinated the population. And nobody knows it because you don't have labeling. Well, let's say that's the goal. Let's say the goal is what Health Canada says the goal is in their position paper, to introduce biopharmaceuticals and genetic modifications into the population. We have to get people eating cloned meat. No, let's think this through. Let's say we are all together. Our goal is to get Canadians eating cloned meat. Without them being aware of it. Well, if you just said, hey, we're going to allow Canadians to eat cloned meat, we're approving cloned meat, people are going to go, wait a second. The issue is, should we eat cloned meat? And they're going to be asking themselves that question. Some of them are going to be Googling and doing some research, and all of a sudden they're going to learn, oh, well, the European Union, every country in the European Union, cloned meat is banned. Even the cloning of animals is banned for human safety reasons and animal welfare reasons. Oh, wait a second. Well, if they're not doing it, if other countries are banning cloned meat, maybe we should ban it here too. Oh, well, but what do the human safety studies say? Oh, what? There's no human safety studies? What about the animal safety studies? Oh, wait, there really aren't animal safety studies. Now we're having a discussion where we go, well, what are the benefits here? And the conclusion would be we shouldn't accept cloned meat. So how do we get people to accept cloned meat? And it's read Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent. You change the issue, you change the focus.
That's so important, Shawn, to talk about that manufactured consent. Because when you explained it to me, I was blown away. Like, it was like, what? Like, why is all the news talking all about cloned meat? I didn't understand that part. Like, why was the mainstream media talking about cloned meat all at the same time with the same message?
Yeah, and it was the same message. And Teresa's got a good point, because all that happened is there's a static web page on Health Canada's site. It's not like they did a big press release or anything like this. And they just changed that website page to say, we're going to allow cloned meat without labeling. Well, the mainstream media, they don't pick up the issue of should we be eating cloned meat with one voice, with a single voice. Mm-hmm. The mainstream media said, well, shouldn't there be labeling? Mm-hmm. So do you see what's happened here? Is if Health Canada came out and said, should we eat cloned meat? The issue is cloned meat. But in a manufactured consent exercise, which is pre-planned with the media,
right,
the issue became, shouldn't we be labeling cloned meat so that Canadians can choose not to eat it? And Canadians are all in an uproar. Yeah. Well, of course it should be labeled so we can decide whether or not to eat it. And nobody raised the issue in the mainstream media. Should we be eating it at all? Shouldn't we be banning it like the EU? Shouldn't we demand human safety studies? Shouldn't we demand an actual reasonable scientific analysis instead of this propaganda garbage we get from Health Canada, which is an apology for putting us in danger and setting us up? So we've had this big media blitz. Well, boy, Canadians should have a choice. It should be labeled. So Health Canada, and this was all by design, says, well, we're putting a stop on this. We're not allowing it. Well, they actually are allowing it. We'll talk about that later. They've just approved genetically modified pigs for the human food supply. But, we're looking into whether there should be labeling. Well, they're going to come back and say, we're going to require strict labeling, and everyone will go, oh, we won.
Yeah.
Without ever having the discussion, should we have it at all? And there'll be no post-market safety monitoring.
Yeah.
So we'll have it in our food supply for several years. They'll say, well, there's no evidence that there's any harm. We don't need this labeling anymore. It's harmful for trade, and it's It's not necessary. And then people won't raise a fuss because we've been eating it for years without a problem anyway. Well, they don't know whether or not there's a problem because A, the amount of cloned meat in the food supply would be very small because it's uneconomic, and they're not monitoring for safety anyway. And that's how you manufacture consent to get Canadians eating cloned meat without any labeling.
Can I just ask a question? So the word manufactured consent, that like they are manufacturing the consent of the Canadian people to accept cloned meat, full stop.
Yes.
Okay, because
Without labeling.
and
Because it has to be without labeling for them to introduce biopharmaceuticals and genetic modifications.
And one of the tells was that the messaging that was coming forward, because I think discernment's so important, right? Like, how do you discern? How do you figure this stuff out? But all of the messaging, there was something weird about the messaging from the media on this particular subject that flagged it to you. Is that correct?
Well, actually, I mean, it was Corey Huntsberger that brought it to my attention. I mean, I was suspicious, but he was the one that really pushed it. I mean, but think about it. Nobody in the mainstream media asked whether we should be eating cloned meat. No one in the mainstream media raised that, of those countries that have addressed the issue, most of them have banned it. Like the entire EU member communities have banned it. Nobody in the media brought up there hasn't been a single human safety study. Nobody in the media was critical of either the FDA or Health Canada's document, which really relies on the FDA, saying, well, wow, this isn't really how anyone reasonably would assess the safety of cloned meat, of genetically modified food. So when you have the media banging their drum on a single issue and not, anyone in the media has actually raised the live issue, what is the issue, or found obvious problems like those that I've discussed, that's when you're in a manufactured consent exercise.
Okay.
And it was successful. The public narrative was focused solely on, there should be labeling.
Right.
The public wasn't saying, we shouldn't have it at all. Only the NHPPA and a few outliers have been saying that.
Whew. So there's a QR code up on the screen now. This links to the playlist that you can go watch the 11-part series, 11-part shorts. Don't worry, it's not 11 hours long, on Shawn's thoughts on manufactured consent and cloned meat in Canada. Highly suggest that everyone watch that and subscribe to the newsletter at nhppa.org/subscribe, where we're releasing each episode every week with a breakdown for you. So Shawn covers all this and more in that extensive series. And let's move on. We're going to look at what you guys have been up to over the November to now, kind of over the break, see what we've all done together. All right, so here we go. Campaign update featuring Jason Dahl, presenting your work over the last several weeks. We're going over a very long period here, ended November till now, basically. The end of the year was a fantastic zone for everyone. I don't know if everyone was getting their natural health products in their fields big time around that time of year. Families were together and watching. We might have had a little bit of a secret weapon, which we'll check out on the next screen. But we grabbed 10,000 new followers just in that time period alone. So thank you and welcome to everyone. You're going on a big journey with us, and we're glad to have you here. 2.1 million views across our social media And a lot of this is ascribed to the excellent content that Eric Clegg is putting up for the organization, plus a couple of massive marathon streams we did in December. The Giving Tuesday, what was that, 6 hours? And also our Christmas one, which is about 4.5 hours as well. We decided to do some big marathon streams to get eyeballs and get donations with big guests on. And those were a massive success. So thank you everyone for watching. And then our current action right now, and we're about to really ramp up again, is the Bill C-224 petition, urging your MPs and party leaders to push forth Blaine Calkins member bill C-224. We've had 5,000 submissions on that, and we're going to need that number to come up if we're going to get members of parliament to notice. Now, during that time, our secret weapon has been adding Shawn's socials into the feed, which has done a tenfold increase. And tonight we are broadcasting on Shawn's X and Shawn's Facebook as well. And it's really helped us out. We want to say welcome and thank you to everyone who subscribed to Shawn's feeds on X and Facebook for joining us on this journey. And we got more exciting stuff to come. So overall, I'd say it's been great. There's 30,000 of you, give or take, subscribe to us. We should get more people subscribed at nhppa.org/subscribe. It's a small newsletter, usually weekly. We don't bomb people with spam, and everything in there is informative and helps you be a better advocate for natural health products. So we'll keep that momentum moving forward. That being said, I think it's time for Buckley Unfiltered. We've already had a warm-up. Let's get into it.
Yeah, well, we did, didn't? So let's switch to a different topic though before I return to the clone meat. But and I know Teresa is going to talk about a similar thing, but we really have to grow our network, because this is about, like, I think 2026 is going to be a completely new season. And I think what's happening is people are waking up in a different way to understand, no, wait a second, I have to get involved. And if something's important to me, I have to have a voice and raise it. And so it's just wonderful when our network is growing. But for it to really grow and really explode, you have to get people to subscribe, like those around you, and tell them to get people to subscribe. And Teresa will kind of go into this. But people are ready to get involved. And, this is an issue where I don't know, is it the cabinet committee structure and people just really don't understand? Excuse me, whenever I fly, I'm in danger of getting a cold, and we just had a long one and I got one.
So, have you tried using that blue stuff that RFK uses?
No, but I just started using NAC. I didn't have any, and that's a real help for stuff like this.
NAC.
So you're thinking of methylene blue.
Right, yeah. There was that famous shot that went massively viral of him loading up his drink with the shot after shot of that blue stuff. And he does it whenever he flies.
Oh, I'm going to have to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, back to this. This, our access to natural health products, just getting us back to a fair regulatory environment, actually having an honest health dialogue about what's going on has been the biggest issue before Parliament. Like all the MPs, I mean, there was over 1 million postcards. I forget the number. I mean, I think we can track a couple of million communications with MPs in the last 18 months. I mean, prior to the last election, there were only 338 of them. Like now, what is there, 342? Like, do the math. This is just, you're being flooded with communications, and most of those paper communications, and we can't even track the telephone calls and faxes that people send. What's the political downside? So clearly we have to grow this so that, the public demand just for reasonable health regulations, it's you can't avoid it. So we welcome the new people, we welcome people joining us, but we have to explode this. Like, I'm sorry, we just do. And then, we're the only group out there. There used to be others, but there's nobody else doing what we're doing. There's nobody else educating the population. And, you're basically almost looking at our entire team. Like, we've got, some website people and stuff like that, but communications, and we need more, and we need help, and we need you to be, redoing things. And so help us grow that network. Now, I wanted to talk about two things. I wanted to, Erica brought up, they're bringing in genetically modified pigs. I do want to talk about that, but I got some different people approaching me in the last week with this meme, because there have been stories on it that Health Canada has actually banned the release of adverse reaction reports linked to vaccines for 15 years. And that's not quite right. It's kind of both right and not right. So I just wanted to kind of let you know what did happen, but, in a correct way. Because when I first heard it and people were reporting it to me, and then I actually went online and started researching and reading some of the media stories on it, I actually thought, oh, wow, Health Canada has banned, like, a blanket ban on the release of information for vaccine injury for 15 years. And I was thinking of, this is kind of like in the United States, where ICANN, the Informed Consent Action Network that Dale Bigtree and lawyer Aaron Siri are really drive. They had applied in the United States to get the documents that Pfizer used to get the COVID-19 vaccine approved by the FDA. And the government was I forget now if it was the FDA or Pfizer, but they were in court, and the other side was saying, no, we actually want to ban the public release of these documents for 75 years. And the court disagreed, and because it was such a large number of documents, the court agreed that, well, they could, basically release, I think, 30,000 pages a month until it had all been released. Which, I think that was being really generous for the court. But the idea was, so here we've got the vaccine most used in the United States during this pandemic. Everyone understands it was rushed, and, regardless of how safe or effective it was, you would think there would be a public interest in allowing other people to evaluate it for good or for ill, or anything in between, but at least so that it would be public considering the circumstances. But there was this argument, no, it should be kept from the public for a full 75 years so that independent people can't look at it. And they failed. So I first thought, when I heard, Health Canada's banned the release of adverse reactions to vaccines for 15 years, that we were in a similar thing. And I was actually somewhat puzzled, like, where would they get the power to do this? So let's talk about what happened. It's still awful what happened, but it's not like there's, a ban and officially nobody can access this stuff. Although we certainly need an organization like ICANN. I wish it was the NHPPA, that we were well enough funded that we could hire lawyers to do stuff like that. But we're not well enough funded yet to do that. So, but really, a legal team should be going and getting a court to say, no, this stuff should be released. But what happened is an MP asked a written question in Parliament. So in Canada, MPs can submit in question period written questions, and then the government has to respond to those written questions in writing. And there's a short time frame to do it. So it's actually one of the few mechanisms we have in Canada to actually get an answer from the government. Because one of the things that has happened in Canada that makes it extremely clear that the government has become adversarial to the citizen is the government's unwillingness to answer questions. Just watch Question Period. And, try to get information from them yourselves under the Access to Information Act. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a second. So an MP asks a question in writing about the Access to Information Act. So we have an act federally called the Access to Information Act. And if you submit a request to a government department, then there's certain timelines for them to reply. And the MP was basically finding out, how much of a train wreck is this? So basically for every, government department, how many are 30 days outstanding, how many 60? And one of the questions was, well, what's the longest one? Like, what's the longest one out there? So for Health Canada, the longest one is 15 years. So let me read to you. This is actually Health Canada's written response. For Health Canada, the longest extension from among its current active requests is 15 years. This extension was requested for a very voluminous request, several million pages, which sought vaccine and adverse drug reaction reports since 1998. Excuse me. It has since been successfully rescoped and is actively being processed. The original extension still stands as the Act does not provide an opportunity to amend it after the first 30 days of the request. So somebody filed a access to information request, which legally obligates Health Canada to answer, asking for all adverse reaction reports for vaccines and adverse drug reaction reports since 1998. And Health Canada says this is several million pages. Let's actually not lose sight of a real issue here. 1998 is not that long ago. And adverse reaction reports, a single report can be a page. Like, they're not long. You can go online and see what there is to submit. And, a typical one's definitely not going to be like long. 1 to 2, 3 pages type thing. So when Health Canada is talking about there being several million pages, they're signaling, Houston, we have a problem. Because we have an obnoxious number of adverse reaction reports. And I would invite anyone, we're going to have the entire charter tour and things broken down, posted, but in the opening statements that I gave, or opening comments, they're not statements, they're videos, and I don't read, I just speak to you. But they were meant to kind of educate you on several issues. And my thinking actually progressed. We're touring this country. We're having people sharing with us live at the live events their health stories. And literally many of them, like, there's no question they're only alive, or they would be completely disabled and suffering in ways that you or I would never want to. And now they're completely healthy because of natural health products. And for like a full 6 weeks before that, we'd been interviewing people and videoing them, sharing the same things. And we're getting absolutely torn apart. Even though these stories have a happy ending, we understand, well, there's a whole bunch of people out there still suffering. Because they don't know this information actually isn't being shared. And it became obvious to us as we progressed this tour. It certainly changed my opinion about how bad it is. And I actually came to the personal opinion, and I share it, I think at the Ottawa opening, the last one, that in my opinion, the leading cause of death in Canada is Health Canada. And I share with you how, and I challenge everyone to watch that and tell me you don't agree with me. And if you disagree, please share with me why. So here we are, and I'm just trying to point out that these chemical pharmaceutical drugs are extremely dangerous. And we've got this ATI with millions of pages of adverse reaction reports, and nobody's actually picked up on that in the story. And, we had one of the speakers on the health show, Professor Alan Castles from the University of Victoria, share with us, and you can watch his video, that the third leading cause of death in Canada are just the antidepressants, the chemical antidepressants themselves. And after the health show, I followed up with him and said, can you kind of point me to research on this? And I ended up looking at a professor at Copenhagen University, Dr. Goetz, who's also a medical doctor, is publishing rather convincingly that the leading cause of death in the Western world are the chemical pharmaceutical drugs themselves as a group. So these adverse reaction reports, where there's millions of pages, should be a story in itself. It's like, oh my gosh. But this is hidden knowledge that we can't talk about. But what Health Canada is saying is there's millions of pages. These are electronic databases. Can it possibly take 15 years? And if there aren't, if some of them were not changed into electronic, which would really surprise me, how on earth can it take you 15 years to scan these? The ones that would need to be scanned, so that you can turn them into electronic format. So under the Act, when something's going to be onerous, you can say, no, I'm going to take this long. And Health Canada just made the decision to say, well, it's going to take us 15 years to fulfill this request. That's outrageous, because they have a legal obligation to disclose this information. And on any planet, 15 years just renders the request absolutely meaningful. I mean, is the person even going to be alive in 15 years? The data by then would be completely outdated anyway. And it's outrageous. So then Health Canada's response to I'm just going to read their last line. The original extension still stands. So the person on the other end has narrowed their request so that it can happen sooner. But Health Canada writes to Parliament, the original extension still stands, meaning 15 years, as the Act does not provide an opportunity to amend it after the first 30 days of the request. That's incorrect. I wanted to use another term, but I'll just stick with incorrect. So that's incorrect. Health Canada, the Act allows them to say, no, we're going to take more time. And they said 15 years, which is outrageous. But it's not like they have to take 15 years. Yeah, you've set the date. There isn't anything in the Act saying you can change it. But you could fulfill that this week. You could fulfill it next week. It's not an excuse for you to take 15 years that you gave an outrageous thing. So that's real misinformation. But I wanted to clear up. It's not like there's a ban, an official ban, where there's some legal authority for Health Canada to not provide this information. And it's not like if you were doing a smaller request that it would take 15 years. It's just that they're being outrageous on this request. And it's another example of the government being adversarial. It's in the public interest for that information to be disclosed. There's a legal obligation to disclose it, and they're not doing it. Let's go to clone meat. So I've already discussed earlier in the show how there's no economic reason why on Earth, on any planet, you would be trying to clone cows for food. It's way more expensive. It's way more problematic. Animal rights groups should be after you because it's downright cruel. Animal cruelty was a real factor in the European Union. Member countries banning, even not just banning selling cloned meat, banning the cloning of animals within the European Union countries. So why on earth would we possibly do this? And the only explanation is what Health Canada says in their opinion paper, where they say, oh yeah, we're going to allow it. The only explanation is their explanation. It's the means of introducing biopharmaceuticals and genetic modifications into the population. Okay. So I've already explained, I'm not going to repeat how we're in this manufactured consent exercise to get us to accept cloned meat with labeling, and then later on, after it's been in our food supply for a period of time, to allow it without labeling. So we put out our discussion paper saying this is how they're going to play this. After Health Canada backed down, when this exercise saying, oh no, we're not going to allow cloned meat right now without labeling. We're going to have some, some more discussion about that because Canadians want labeling. Well, in the last 10 days, I think it is, Health Canada has announced that they have approved for introduction into the human food supply and the animal food supply genetically modified pigs that have been genetically modified using CRISPR technology to change their genetic profile so that in theory they are less prone to catch a virus that can cause sterility and other problems. So these pigs are genetically modified in theory to be more resistant to this virus. Now what's interesting, when I'm reading the documents, I actually see no evidence that these pigs are less susceptible to this virus. You'd think you'd run those tests. What's the point of allowing, because they're Health Canada's all over, man, this would be really good because this virus causes problems. Why don't we have, instead of, pig barns with 10,000 pigs, do what we used to do where we have pigs dispersed in smaller things. But anyway, wow, this could really be good, having pigs that are less susceptible to a virus. And I mean, obviously that, wow, how do you argue with that? If there was no risk. But nowhere is there analysis. Is it actually even true? Shouldn't the first step be, well, I want to see proof that these pigs do catch this virus less because they're modified. It's funny because they show, CRISPR technology in theory is supposed to allow you to kind of jump in where you want to and make the modification you want to without modifications elsewhere. Well, they know the modification that they're introducing, and basically they're injecting it into embryos. It's mRNA technology. And so they kind of said, well, it might also affect this part of the DNA, that part of the DNA, and et cetera. So they're testing all these different markers, and their documents show, on average, on first round, there were like over 400 modifications other than the one they wanted. And yet they're telling us, okay, but once we've gotten a whole bunch modified, for breeding, we're only allowing the ones to breed with the specific modification. But what about the where they're not testing? Like this is the train wreck that we talked about in our discussion paper. So Health Canada, so they've modified these embryos, and then in theory of the ones that only have the single modification, although there's the testing is not broad. The this is how you play your game, is you say, well, we're only going to check these specific markers. They're not testing the entire genome, even though it's quite easy to run an entire genome sequence now. So then we're breeding these, and we're creating different breeding lines, because obviously you're having a very few animals now trying to create, stock for the entire world, and there's problems with that. I mean, there's reasons why you're not allowed to marry your cousin. But be that as it may, that's where we've gone down on this. And Health Canada's approved this. So we don't know if there's any advantage to the industry. We know that we now have, weaker animals because of extreme inbreeding. We know that we've got, animals that are genetically modified and not testing. We don't know if it's safe to eat. There'll be no human studies. There'll be no safety studies. But the point is understand, is Health Canada's now already allowing genetically modified pigs into our food supply. Now, the company's saying, we're not ready to enter the market yet. So I don't know why Health Canada was in such a hurry. And we have to address the labeling issue. So it's a foregone conclusion that we are going to be eating genetically modified meat. It's already proved. The only issue left outstanding is whether it's going to be labeled or not. Well, of course it's going to be labeled, because they've changed that into the issue, when the issue is, should we be allowing this at all? There's no advantage for humans. And I'm sorry, there's no shortage of pork. It's not like we're not able to raise pigs without genetic modifications to, in theory, make them less susceptible to disease, although there's no proof that they're less susceptible to that disease. And we're learning with almost every medical intervention that if you solve one health problem, you create others. Like we've learned in Africa with this I think it's the three combination vaccine, that actually the kids there tend to get that less, but their overall rate of mortality and everything else is off the charts compared to other kids. And we had, doctors like, I think Dr. Stephen Malthouse and others talking during the health show, like the problem with our interventions is when you solve one thing, you can be creating much worse health problems elsewhere. Like we just don't understand. We're not ready to play God yet. I'm sorry, we're not. But that's what we're doing. And why are we doing it? It's not for the benefit of the population. So I just wanted to talk about that. I mean, basically our predictions are coming true, but again, it's not like there's any special expertise here. Health Canada's told us in their opinion document. And the trick we've used, like if you look at our track record, NHPPA started in 2008, but we were making predictions long before that. And if you look at our track record over the past several decades, you'll go, man, those guys were really good at predicting what Health Canada was going to do. No, we're not. We're not special that way at all. We just take the position that you look at Health Canada's actions, they're clearly pointing to an end goal. Like you ignore what Health Canada says and you just look at what they do and you know where they're going. So you're able to, look, they're going there. There's nothing complicated about this, and you can apply that in different areas. So I think I'll end there, Jason. I just wanted to make the point that we are going to be eating cloned meat without actually having a discussion as to whether we should, because the media, which sure picked up. So Teresa, back to you. You raised that point earlier in the show. Man, the media just jumped on the labeling issue. Health Canada is going to allow cloned meat without labeling. We have this manufactured consent issue with, shouldn't there be labeling? Shouldn't there be labeling? Shouldn't there be labeling? Well, now Health Canada's approved cloned pigs.
So
the media really, picked up on this, but never asked the question, should we be eating them?
So is this the way they do it? Has this been done
they
before?
have us focus on a different issue, not the real issue.
So what are the tells? Like,
Well,
what
I
are
mean,
the
the tell is unfair or non-analysis at all, and the media is speaking with one voice.
It's the second one that's the freaky one for me.
That such a niche subject like that, something that the media ignores, nutrition, health, food, except for PAP. All of a sudden, that was front page news everywhere for 2 days, just enough to set off the firestorm, without any exploration of risk or anything downstream of that. It was just announced, you're getting cloned meat, no labels. Okay, bye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they shut, and then the story disappeared once Health Canada, and it was all pre-game, said, oh yeah, we better pause this and look into the labeling issue. And like I say, we've predicted they're going to come back with strict labeling, and then everyone will say we won, and we will have had no public discussion about whether we should be eating cloned meat at all, which of course we shouldn't. Nobody wants to eat cloned meat.
It didn't take them long to pause either, right? Maybe a week or two, then they paused.
So do you think the pause was controlled as well?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So that's another freakazoid one in my mind. That the
I think
pause
if no one had said anything, then we'd be eating the clone meat right now. So they're like, let's just go with this, and then if nothing happens, well, great. But if there's outrage, then we've got the fallback position, which is the same thing. You just end up with more or less the same thing. They win either way. We get a fake victory while we're at it.
Well, and then the real issue is, I mean, Health Canada is not there to protect our health.
As proven in court.
For everyone watching this live or not live, I mean, you got to watch those openings at the charter tour, but Health Canada is not there to protect your health. They're the leading cause of death. I mean, they manage our food supply.
Elaborate.
Yeah, so Health Canada, let's just talk about our food supply. So Health Canada manages our food supply. Could our food supply be more toxic? Could it? Is it possible that our food supply could be more toxic without the population totally reacting, without it being completely obvious that we're being poisoned? Because we are being poisoned by our food supply. One of the leading causes of chronic illness is toxicity from our food supply. But that's complicated by the fact that we can't get proper nourishment through our food supply. As shocking as this will be for some people, the human body needs nutrition to be healthy. Who knew? There are certain nutrients, we call them vital or essential nutrients, and there's a list of them. Where you're missing a single one of them, you will die because they're essential. You can't get them from our food anymore. The U.S. Department of Agriculture regularly surveys our food supply, and they've been doing it since 1900. And they've cataloged, vital nutrients going down and down and down. And I think it was their 1949 report where they said, you can't be healthy from eating anymore. And it's gotten much worse from then. And they went through the exercise of saying, well, if you're missing this and this, which have just said you are, here's the chronic illness you get. And if you're missing this and this, and you are, here's the chronic illness you get. Well, Health Canada, which has control over our food supply, has supervised our food becoming non-food, where we can no longer be healthy. You must supplement. You must get advice and supplement to even have a chance of being healthy in Canada. And then Health Canada, through its RDA, not recommended daily allowance nonsense, and requiring us to license vital nutrients. It's illegal in Canada
for people to sell you these essential nutrients, vitamin C, vitamin D, and the like. It's actually illegal for anyone to sell them to you without Health Canada permission. And Health Canada will not allow them to sell to you with a dosage amount that you actually need to be healthy. It's illegal. So if you actually don't know that you need to ignore the label and get advice, you're wasting your time.
What are we
Health
doing?
Canada is not there to protect your health.
Yeah, I didn't know any of this stuff before I became a Buckley. I can just say I knew nothing. I think I represent like the average person, the average Canadian. How do you pass this information on to people? Like, how do you get people to understand? I don't get
Can we
it.
create a nonprofit and start petitioning the government? It was just released recently that the FDA in the States has been woefully under recommending vitamin D to its citizens based on a clerical error. And since we don't do testing up here of our own of any kind, we just accept what other organizations like the FDA say. We've been woefully under recommending vitamin D to Canadians who need it more than anybody.
The information is out there. This is deliberate.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Criminal.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it.
It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. Okay, so we've talked about toxicity. Could our food be more toxic without it becoming obvious that we're being poisoned? So a lot of people are presenting to the healthcare system with toxicity. And we learned during the health show from medical doctors that they're not trained to identify most toxicity issues that lead to chronic illness. So they're just going to give you chemicals, which will make you more toxic. And then another big part of our attendance to the healthcare system is because we're chronically malnourished. And now we've got chronic illness because of malnutrition. And the doctors at the health show, the medical doctors, made it clear we're not trained in nutrition. So they prescribe to us because they've only been trained. They're in an allopathic model. And under the allopathic model, don't you dare fix the problem. If it's malnutrition, don't fix it. If it's poisoning, don't fix it. Well, that's why they're not trained in it. Address the symptoms. That's the allopathic model. And the only tools they're given are chemical drugs, which we're learning, if they're not the single leading cause of death in Canada, will be number 2 or number 3. But I believe they are. The single leading cause of death, except the malnutrition and toxicity, all managed by Health Canada. So on the advice of Health Canada, and I've read the Gazette, I think it was 1946, where, they changed the drug definition, and the Minister of Health said, well, this is on advice of, the bureaucracy, and it always is. So we make everything a drug. We make our vital nutrients a drug, and then we make it illegal to sell a drug without Health Canada permission. And then Health Canada, which drafts these regulations, because they're the experts, the government doesn't know. The ministers don't know. MPs don't even understand this. I have to explain it to them. They don't understand the drug model. The Minister of Health won't understand the drug model and what I'm saying right now. So here you've got to get this approval to sell a drug for serious health conditions. Anyone here, heart attack, cancer, serious arthritis, you name it, serious health conditions. The only drugs that have been approved by Health Canada had a patent when they were approved, meaning they were synthetic chemicals. How can it? So, which is why if you go to the hospital for cancer, mental illness, heart attack, whatever, you name it, the only thing you're going to be offered other than surgery are novel chemical drugs that were novel chemicals when they went through the drug approval process. Are you telling me we get the best health outcomes by making it illegal to treat serious health conditions with anything but novel chemicals. It's an absolute racket.
What are we doing?
Can you tell me how you really feel, Shawn?
Don't
So I like
sugarcoat it.
that. I like to hide it and keep it inside.
That's always.
Although I've become way more angry since the charter tour. I mean, I'm sorry, I just have. It's harder to be filtered because so many people suffered needlessly. And there's a whole bunch more out there. And I fully believe that what we're doing is criminal.
Yeah.
That, there should be investigations. People should be jailed. Pharmaceutical people should be jailed. Health Canada people should be jailed. This is complete regulatory capture. And Canadians are dying and suffering.
That's where the anger comes from. I've definitely become more angry from being on the inside. I had lots of idea about this. I've always been kind of NHP-ish. Went all the way to vegan back in the 90s because of what I found out about our food supply and stuff like that. But now joining NHPPA to understand, I thought that you could take, the recommended dose of vitamin D and be supplemented. I thought you could, access these products. And now to find out that you can't, and there's an active war against it, is infuriating and befuddling. It's just, what are we even doing? I guess the grand question is, why? Is it just sheer money? I don't know.
Yeah, and we're all just speculating there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
But there's been absolute regulatory capture.
That's the main
And
problem.
my point was, Health Canada's not there to protect you. So when we're having these decisions on cloned meat, it has nothing to do with you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you had them state that in court, right? That they have no obligation to.
Well, I had a Health Canada inspector on the stand in a criminal trial where Health Canada was trying to shut down this company with criminal charges. Unfortunately, the court acquitted them on the defense of necessity, saying that more people would have died if they listened to Health Canada, and it was legally necessary for them to continue to sell their product. But there's this inspector on the stand, and I'm trying to set her up so that basically box her in with previous questions so that she'll have to answer the final question with a yes. And one of my lead up questions, which I was sure I was going to get a yes on because I didn't understand yet, they're not there for our health, was something like, well, as a Health Canada inspector, you're there to protect our health. And I'm expecting a yes. I'm already ready to ask my next question. And she says no. Okay, I've got to keep my poker face in the court. But it's like, okay, that went off the rails. So let me ask that a little differently. And I keep asking it differently. And finally, she's getting frustrated because I can't believe I'm not getting a yes to the question, as Health Canada inspector, you're there to protect our health. Because I hadn't learned yet. Like now looking back, well, like, of course, what a stupid question that is. Like now looking back, what a stupid question. Of course, a Health Canada inspector isn't there to protect my health or anyone else's. So she finally says no. She explains to me in court under oath, no, I'm not there to protect your. We're not there to protect your health. We are there to enforce the Food and Drug Act and regulations. That's why they're there. And the Food and Drug Act and regulations are not there for your health.
Who writes those? Who wrote those?
Well, I mean, really, the act and regulations are drafted by the bureaucracy and adopted by the government. And, the act will be tweaked in committee by MPs who don't understand what's going on. The real problem is that we've given government authority over what we can put in our bodies. Like there's 3 lines in the sand that is all you need for safe food and drug policy, and that is you have to protect the citizen against fraud. So you can't have people making outrageous claims. They have to be truthful. Now, that can look different than what some people would be thinking, because I actually think we have almost 100% censorship of truthful health information in Canada. I think the law should be no. You have to have 100% disclosure of all health information, regardless of, how odd it might sound. Like, so to give you an example, there was an Amish healer whose son was badly burned and is in a burn unit. And the doctors are saying, like, your son's going to die. Your son is not going to make it. And this guy starts fasting and praying, and he has a vision about how to heal his son. Very specific directions. So he makes this product, and his son lives. And it kicks butt for other people. Well, that's a weird story. The law should be, if he's going to sell that product, he has to share that. Someone like me would probably buy the product, but you should know what the basis is, right? And you should know of reports of it working. You should know reports of it not working. The law should be disclose all health information you have instead of this almost total censorship that we have. I forgot where I was going. I just got too excited about that story.
It's just it's endless. It's endless. We have a few more things to do. We've got to listen to Teresa tell us about what we can do on the ground and take a few questions.
And we have to go cover 224.
We do, yeah. We've got some cool clips from the second reading, which is going to resume. So, well, we can take a look at that now, have a little breath, maybe watch a little bit of TV together for a second. And for those of you that might have missed it before, C-224 was lucky. They got, it's a lottery when you have members' bills. You basically virtually put your hand into a bag and get a ticket, and that decides what order you come up for. So we found out when we were in Ottawa for the tour that MP Blaine Calkins, the sponsor of C-224, pulled a nice early number. So the debate was in was it late November, I believe, and it ran on. There was a healthy debate, as we'll see in a second, and it ran on, and they closed for the day and moved on, and it's been suspended reading, and it's about to resume. Little birdie told us on the 24th, so we're going to be ramping up action on that, and we can resume. We can take a look at a few clips of what that looks like when they're doing the reading.
Honorable député de Montcalm.
Honourable member for Montcalm. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Oh, yeah, I'll show him second. He's great. We'll show Blaine defending against the sitting Liberals.
Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Government has the floor.
So thank you, Madam Speaker. And I must say that I'm a little bit disappointed in the member opposite.
A lot.
Because I don't think he's being fully transparent about the issue. Right. I think there are many Canadians that have a genuine concern about the issue of contamination. And I'm wondering if the member can provide his thoughts. Does he believe that there is no concerns related to contamination or issues around that Canadians have nothing to be concerned about in regards to this issue? After all, we have seen Health Canada recall certain situations. Does he believe Health Canada plays no role in this? I'm wondering in terms of to what degree does the member see the value of providing the assurances through Health Canada that the products that they are consuming are in fact safe?
That's a good question.
Well, member for Ponoka Disbury.
Well, I
I guess I reject the premise of the question. I never said Health Canada didn't have a role to play. As a matter of fact, had the member been listening to my speech, he would have heard me say that Health Canada, prior to Bill C-47, has the power to stop any sale of any natural health product that's regulated in this country. That product can't be sold as a natural health product until it has a natural product number on it, which means that natural health product number has a all this stuff has to be pre-approved. Nothing can happen post-market access. Everything is approved before it even gets to the market. They have border powers for personal use imports. They have seizure powers to seize a product that they think might be unsafe. They can revoke a site license for a manufacturer, a packager, a label, or an importer. They can mandate any label change if they're concerned about the contents not matching, inside the bottle not matching what's on the label. They can inspect any site to look for contamination issues all they want. They can even stop that site from continuing to produce things. The honourable member's question seems to indicate that there are no authorities and powers right now. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Blaine's good in Parliament. He's good. He speaks as well as his hair spikes. And we can take a look at the response from Bloc Québécois, did you have something to add to that, Shawn?
Well, just that, we did an interview with Blaine Calkins.
Yes.
That's available on our site and on I assume our Rumble channel in that too. So, you can get a much deeper analysis for those of you that are interested, and, he explains what's going on quite well.
As we're talking C-224, there is a QR code up in the corner that can be scanned, and links will be in the description on the replay of this afterwards to immediately go off to our 224 site, read, learn, and send letters. And as we're constantly trying to drum in, we have the automatic e-letters, which is great. It immediately gets some kind of contact going with your MPs. You're not limited to one. You can keep sending letters. Beyond that, the next slot down on the page is information to get your MP's contact info and write a letter. I know it sounds weird in this day and age. Or, Microsoft Word a letter, print it out, and physically mail it. These physical letters or phone calls have a gravity, multiplicative gravity as compared to these e-letters, which MPs, I must imagine, are getting thousands of these things a week. Not saying don't do it. Whoever sends the most wins. So that's why we do the e-letters. But just sitting and writing a letter or printing one out and physically mailing it and making a phone call is worth 100 e-letters. So, but everyone scan that up there when this replay is up, and in the newsletter, which you can subscribe to at any time at nhppa.org/subscribe. Constantly, we're giving you links to this. In the next 2 weeks will be a massive ramp up where this is our last chance to participate at this level in pushing MPs to simply approve Blaine Calkins' bill.
Can I just add something that what was so interesting, what Blaine had explained to us when we met him in person. He said, as an MP, if he receives 10 correspondences a week on one particular subject, it's a very rare occurrence, and he takes notice.
That's wild. 10.
I was shocked by
10.
that. 10. That's like 2 hands. Like 2
So it's
hands.
like
Like that's all it takes. We're so apathetic.
A percentage point of everyone watching tonight, if they went and did Microsoft Word, you can even copy the text out of our e-letter, print it out.
Oh, it made it
Put it
easy.
in an envelope. Yeah, and we have letters ready. We have all this stuff as a kit on the 224 page. So, 10 letters, that's crazy.
It blew me away. I thought it would be like drowning and thousands and thousands and thousands. He says no. It was like 10. It's like, wow. Like it was such a small number. It was such a small number. And that really
cool
hit home.
that's something that while we were there in Ottawa for the tour, I did want to ask about what is the system of filtering letters, all these emails, thousands of emails, letters, which I thought would be thousands and thousands, which I guess is now just turned into a trickle. So this is a power case use, and perhaps something that we can think about in the coming week to build up a little more pressure, make it a little more easier for you guys to do this. Plus social media accounts now more than ever, which is an entirely new facet of this game of trying to get the attention of your government. Is we've seen from the clone meat retraction, that the pause, that it works. If we can get enough people howling on social media, it's almost better, but it's hard to do, bigger numbers. But we do have new avenues available, and we make that all easy for you. We have ready to go social media posts that you can copy and paste into your social account. Automatically tags in people. You can add your MP's name. We got it all there for you. QR code and description will have the link when this goes to a replay next week. We can watch one more, at least one more. It's Luc Thierault from Bloc Québec.
Honorable député de Montcalm.
I'm a member from Montcalm. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would have liked to be able to say that C-224 is the same bill as 368, which was trashed because of the last election. But 368 was amended by block amendments, which struck a balance between the concerns about safety, which people had, and those are necessary concerns, versus the ability to avoid destroying an entire industry. Can my colleagues say this morning clearly whether, like the last time round, because all parties agreed with our amendments, will he support our amendments this time?
Panoka Didsbury.
The real question, or the answer to my colleague's question, I thank him for his support of the bill in the last Parliament, his thoughtful analysis. The member was very thoughtful in his deliberations and his approach to dealing with Bill C-368. He will note that the bill is not exactly the same because one of the amendments that was put forward at the committee stage last time dealt with exempting nicotine, so I did that through the definition in this particular bill, but there's other amendments that I know that my colleague will likely bring back to the committee. He doesn't need my permission to do that, Madam Speaker. So I would encourage my colleague to actually talk to the industry associations and Canadians who might have had some concerns with the amendments that he brought forward and make sure he gets them on side. But at this particular point, Madam Speaker, the bill that I've tabled before this House belongs to this House. I want to get it passed here at second reading, and the place for those amendments to be proposed is at committee. But he doesn't need my permission to do it. He really should actually ask Canadians and the industry associations that represent them whether they agree in total with the wording and the nuances of the wording that were in those amendments, Madam Speaker. But in principle, I support the amendments that he put forward last Parliament.
So it's interesting to watch the Game of Thrones that ensues as people try to get laws passed. So, the Bloc seem to be allies on this, but they also want to get some credit. So they put the amendments up and stuff last time, obsessed with nicotine. But I played that because it's just interesting to see what's involved. And I know that we got word that second reading was happening, so I watched all this live, and that's how we have clips for this time. It's way more interesting than I thought it would be. I thought it would be deadly boring. It's way more interesting. And so you get a lot of insight. So when this second reading happens, we'll be doing the same thing, getting a lot of clips for it so that you're more knowledgeable. And I urge any of our viewers tonight that are in Quebec to let Bloc Québécois know that you appreciate your support of this bill, but we don't want it held up with unnecessary tag-along amendments and stuff like that, that the C-224 is fine as is. So, Shawn?
Well, the real issue right now are the Liberal MPs. So because we've had two Conservatives cross the floor since, Blaine had introduced the bill, he was very confident he would get it into past second reading and into committee. But because two Conservatives have crossed the floor to the Liberals, he's not confident now, because basically every single person has to show up. Every NDP, every Conservative, every bloc has to be there to vote to get it through. The real issue is, can we get some Liberals to support it? So those of you who are watching that have a Liberal MP, there are real dividends for us. If you would go to our site, you're making sure you're sending those letters, but make those calls to the office, speak to your MP, go in person, make it perfectly clear to your Liberal MP that you want this bill in committee.
Then the steps from there, Shawn, it goes off to committee where it'll be further looked at and molded. And from there, what happens?
Well, okay, so first of all, let's talk about how awful this is. The committee, the game that was played last time, which, now I've come to understand this is just how it works. So a bill goes through first reading. That's just to introduce it. Nobody knows what's in the bill. So you basically table it, and then it gets adjourned for second reading. And so that gives everyone an opportunity to read it, figure out, do you support it, not support it? So second reading, people are supposed to know what it's about, and you have a debate on that. And if there is a majority to vote that it gets past second reading, then it goes into committee. So there are different committees with different expertise, and this is a health bill, so it would go to the Standing Committee on Health. Well, this happened last Parliament. So last Parliament, it wasn't called Bill C-224, it was 368. It gets into committee, and the committee calls witnesses. Well, after all the witnesses are called, they have their last meeting on the bill, and then the NDP and the Bloc suggest table all these amendments for the committee to vote on. Well, these amendments weren't ever put to the witnesses. People like us, we didn't know about it. We couldn't comment on them. A couple of these amendments, including the Bloc amendment, the one that he's talking about, he doesn't understand it. It made the whole bill meaningless and useless. So we had a week to, basically put pressure, because Dr. Ellis, one of the Conservatives on the committee, basically filibustered, so they didn't have time to vote on those amendments. And we had a week to create pressure, and in that week, you guys through our portal sent 250,000 e-letters to the 12 members in the Standing Committee of Health. But the point I'm making is what a game, right? So you can have witnesses come and testify, support or don't support the bill. You've got amendments in your back pocket, and you're not saying, hey, well, what about this amendment? What do you think about this or that? So that experts coming and attending before you can actually speak to that. Like what a game Parliament is. So, last minute you sneak in an amendment, which for political reasons gets passed. It could be a total train wreck. And, third reading, there's really, usually very little debate, and bang, it's law. Like our whole system is so flawed. I can't get my head around it.
Not sure what to say about all that. I think we still have a chance here. I mean, they might have crossed the floor, but we did have Liberals supporting it last time, right? I mean, it did pass despite similar-ish numbers. So it's worth a shot. It's in there now. And C-224.
It's up to us now. It's up to us now.
Yeah,
it's up to the people watching this and on the NHPPA network to be sending the letters, to be making the calls, to be signing the petition. It's up to us now.
Yeah.
We need to make it an embarrassment for them not to vote for it. That's really what it has to be. And we found out firsthand that many MPs are not aware of the issues around this whatsoever. They have no idea the details of NHPs and Health Canada and such. So making them aware, step 1 and 2, getting those physical letters and calls in to let them know that they're going to face a maelstrom if they don't vote for this. And it's an easy vote on its face, but the establishment doesn't want it. So, and the establishment right now is the Liberals. So it's up to us. We've got to do it. Shall we move on? I believe Teresa's got some helpful advice of what we can do on the ground to make this happen with NHPPA University. Teresa, what's going on at NHPPA University?
Well, that's a very good question, and it was placed on our heart right after the health charter tour that we needed to make and create a way to educate people. And there was a lady that was volunteering in Victoria kept talking about NHPPA University, and so I figured this is what we now need to do. I find that the more I learn, the more I know, the more confidence I have, the more conversations I can have. And that's really what we need to start doing. We need to gain confidence. We need to understand the material and then kind of get over our fear of sharing. So over the next year, we're going to be incorporating NHPPA University into our new volunteer program that we're going to be starting. And so stay tuned for that. And if you want to be a volunteer coordinator, please reach out. We need your help for sure. Because like we always say, we're such a small organization, but we're going to break it down into three facets. The first one is we need to educate ourselves. We need to educate ourselves on the subject. Somehow this mess can be deciphered down into a simple format, and that's what we try to do at the NHPPA, is to give you great talking points. So I just encourage you to start looking through the website. If you're not familiar with the Charter of Health Freedom, go to that website as well, download the document, and just start reading a little bit, watching the videos that Shawn has on there on manufactured consent, as well as the different bills and the different letters that we have. The next thing that we're going to have to start doing is we're going to have to start getting comfortable with the language of actually sharing with other people. That comes through practice. I remember when my son was starting drama in high school, and he would look in the mirror and start practicing his lines. I think that's what we actually have to start doing to try to help with our confidence while we go out and start sharing the truth with strangers, natural health practitioners, health food stores, and MPs. So don't be afraid to start talking the language, and that kind of comes after you know the content and start educating yourself on the subject. And then the third one we'll be talking about is target marketing. Very similar to Real Estate 101, you need to kind of understand who is it that you want to educate. Who is it that you want to share this message with? Is it the practitioners? Is it the health food stores? Is it the traditional Chinese medical doctors? We're going to be breaking down this information for you and to assist you to create your own target market within where you live, where your hometown is, so you can then be an NHPPA ambassador. And that's the exponential growth. And then from there, when you start speaking with people, that's when you tell them to tell others. It's that instruction that has to come forward. We need to create exponential growth to educate people. The one thing that's crystal clear, what Shawn and I saw firsthand when we were traveling across Canada, was Canadians are suffering. Full stop. Whether it's the food supply or what they've ingested, if it's toxic load, lack of minerals, people are suffering. Canadians are suffering. And they're looking for answers. So it's up to us to kind of educate ourselves, to get over our fear, to start talking the language so we can start having these conversations with people and then tell them to tell others. So that's the basis of NHPPA University. And that will be the basis of our volunteer programs that we'll be launching over the next season. So stay tuned for that.
Now, you mentioned the NHPPA ambassador. We'd urge you to come to nhppa.org/volunteer and fill out. We have a quick form. You can tell us about yourself, your expertise, if any, and you'll get into the stream and probably be quiet at first, but when we ramp up, we'll have work for you to do. And you can become an NHPPA ambassador who has two thumbs and started out as an NHPPA ambassador.
And
This
I know
guy-
someone else. I know someone else on this call who started as an ambassador for another volunteer program, and it was just kind of like he just got reeled in. Right?
Yeah, you know.
But it helps and it works, and we want to do, like, the one thing I know is we want to help. We want to do something. It's just what do we do? How do I get there? And is it going to make a difference?
And I'll
we
say,
can help you, and I know it'll make a difference. So I'm here to not be the wah, wah, wah. It's like the sky is falling. I'm like, here's the little spot of joy on your little chest, and it can make a difference, and we have to do it. We no longer have a choice.
we tend to be insular these days, and if anyone can break you out of it, it is Teresa Buckley. Take my word for it. So if you've been wondering what you can do, then by all means, volunteer with us, please. We definitely need the help, and I think many of you need to do something about this. I think many of you watching this must be wondering what you can do, and there's only one way to find out. So head off to nhppa.org/volunteer and sign up. We're not going to make you do anything, so just sign up. Thank you so much for that, Teresa. That was fantastic. Shawn, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's just we're in it together, and bearing in mind, we may not get back to you right away because we actually need to arrange some volunteers to do that. We have such little bandwidth, which is, it's the nice thing about the NHPPA is at the end of the day, it's just people getting together and making a difference, and it's you taking action. We try and make it so that it's as easy as possible. We've got this 224 campaign, and all you have to do is fill in, your name and email and postal code, and the letter auto-populates and sends it to your MP. And it's really easy for you to make your own letter from, like I say, cut and paste and all of that. So we make it easy, but we still need you to do it. And, if you've already sent an e-letter, send another. And if you haven't sent, and if you already sent a physical letter, send another. Like, you don't have to do it just once. But get other people involved. We need to grow our network. And like I say, 2026, I think it's the year where people come to understand that we can do this.
Agreed.
So the one thing, it was just so encouraging to tour the country and just see you and just meet the different people. Like, we've got a wonderful bunch, and together we're incredibly strong. And I just want to thank everyone for all the encouragement, and thank you for all the help. We're all in this together, and we're just trying to make it so that you can participate. So, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. And with all the topics covered, I'm sure you guys must have some questions. If you have questions, you just put it into any of the social feeds you're watching on right now, and we'll do our best to answer the questions that we can. Are you guys in the mood for some questions from the crowd, from the chat? Let's go. So I've got a very interesting one here, unexpected. Does anyone know why Lisa LaFlamme was taken down for sharing a diabetes remedy? Has anyone heard about this? No, eh? That's coming from Willie Lump over on Rumble. I'm going to take a look into that for you, Willie.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. They just announced that she was leaving, and I don't remember anything about diabetes.
Maybe she wants to be on the next Talk Forum.
Oh, that's a good idea, Teresa. Getting post-it notes.
Yeah, post-it note.
Getting a post-it note. Lisa LaFlamme, let's go.
Well, there's always something like there's.
I
a
wish we
reason.
could answer that. So
Yeah. I hadn't heard of that. The way he posted it, it seemed like it was maybe common knowledge, something I missed. So I thought I'd post that up.
I'd seen that in the comments earlier.
Yeah.
And being just the experience I have with Health Canada, no word of lie, like just so if people don't know me, I mean, I'm a lawyer and I started this journey acting for Health Canada and then ended up switching sides. And, half of my legal practice was trying to keep natural health products on the market. And, especially I was going to say especially at the beginning, but I mean, at the beginning, I was defending companies like it was life and death for every single product, meaning that people's life depended on it. And, at times the courts would agree, like, oh my gosh, like we can't take this product away or people would die.
Right.
And, when you're dealing with tragedy, you kind of have to make fun of it. And I wasn't the only one, like other regulatory experts in that. It's kind of like, so no word of a lie. When I would see a notice in the media that Health Canada was attacking a natural health product, I would write down the product and I would write down the condition in case I ever got that condition because I knew the product worked.
That's what I've been doing my whole time at the NHPPA.
So cynically, when I saw this in the chat, why did they take away, go after her for sharing a diabetes remedy? I just thought, because the remedy works.
Yeah, so we should find out that. Let's post-it note that.
Yeah. Working on it right now as we speak. I have post-it notes and no pen. All right. So moving on from that, there are multiple concerns over what is the reason given for even cloning meat? Are they claiming it's cheaper, healthier? Now, you did cover the grander picture, but the question, I guess, is specifically, are they claiming it's no, claim they want to allow it?
It's not. No, they're not claiming it's cheaper and they're not claiming it's healthier because it's not cheaper and it's not healthier. So, for these pigs, which they've just approved, they're saying, well, the pigs have been modified so that they're less likely to get this specific type of virus, which can be a problem for pigs.
Swine flu.
Again, my criticism is well, where's the evidence that these genetically modified pigs actually are healthier? Not just for that virus, that they're less susceptible. Like what they say is, well, there's this theory that, with this specific protein or whatever, that leads them to get this virus. So the tweak is to get rid of that. And hopefully it doesn't cause too many other metabolic problems with these pigs. But Lord knows, right? I mean, we change one thing and the body's so complicated and we don't understand it. So the theory is because they've made this modification, these pigs have protection against this virus. Well, they're not talking about any evidence that that's actually true. But that's the justification. Oh, well, they should be less susceptible. Well, step one for any rational human being that still has two neurons that are connected in their mind is, well, we know there's danger. We know there's risk. We know there's cost. Is it true? Is that benefit actually there? Show us the evidence that these pigs are A, less susceptible to that virus, and B, not more susceptible to other things. But that's not there because this isn't about health. This isn't about good health outcomes. So really, the question is, like, who cares what the rationale is? Because they're not there for our health anyway. They're just going to come up with great little arguments and documents as, they lead us to the slaughter.
But isn't it important to understand what it is that they're saying? So then when, the neighbor, or when your Aunt Bertha brings it up, that you have some sort of talking point to rebuke that? Or do you just go back one step before
Well,
that usually? Like, how do you discuss this with someone? Because that's what, like, that's what I always want to know.
Well, I mean, I think you have to understand that they don't know, and there's a whole danger here. Like the cloning process, genetic modifications create problems that we can't predict.
Yeah.
But let's say these pigs are less susceptible. Did we really have a problem in the first place where this is necessary? Because you can't predict what the problems are going to be. I mean, we're now going to be introducing widespread into our food supply, basically pigs with very little genetic diversity because they're inbred. They had one pig that was modified. They bred it several times. Some of the offspring had the genetic modification, some didn't. And those that did, they're breeding together. So they're all inbred. The goal will be for this to become worldwide, where basically we all have pigs that have this genetic modification. Do you not see a problem here? So what about the virus that they're not? Let's say that does actually protect them. What about the virus they're not protected from? We now don't have genetic diversity. Like, what are we doing here? It's not for our health. Bearing in mind they want to get rid of livestock anyway.
Well,
that seems to me, that's how my brain tries to slot this into a grand future picture, where the standard model of actual animals interbreeding and farming is gone, and they get this as close to just a lab situation as you possibly can, and then eventually actual, just get rid of the animals, just all lab. Excuse me. Seems like one of the possibilities.
No, what was that bill number? It died with the last election, but it got past the House of Commons and was in the Senate. That basically gave the Minister of Health the legal obligation for climate change purposes to basically phase out our traditional forms of protein to protect us from pandemics. So getting rid of cows, pigs, and chickens, and obligating the Minister of Health to source alternative forms of protein. This was passed by the House of Commons in our last parliament and was in the Senate, and thank goodness that the Senate hadn't finished with it before the last election. Well, we're building insect farms now. So their plan is to get rid of cows and chickens and pigs.
Shawn,
and have us eating insects.
Shawn was on a sheep napping file years and years and years ago, and I think you should do something. You should talk about that at some point in the future, Shawn.
Well, I think we're going to do a whole series of videos and a discussion paper on this Canadian Food Inspection Agency and how they dealt with some rare heritage Shropshire sheep. It's as shocking as what they did with the ostriches.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely demonstrates how we have a huge problem, that the government shouldn't have power over our food. And who was it? Thomas Jefferson that said that if government gets control over our food, what we put in our bodies, basically our food and our medicine, that we're in for the worst form of tyranny there is.
That's right.
So clone meat into sheep napping.
Yeah.
So the follow-up questions on that were several on if we're safe if we choose organic. Is there anything outlined?
That's a good question, and I don't know if the organic people, like there are different organizations that certify foods as organic. So, for example, Teresa and I were at a health food conference in Toronto 2 years ago, where the lady that was head of the organization that certifies foods as organic in Canada was helpfully Remember, I
Yeah.
talked about how we're raising insect farms, was explaining how they're working with the insect farms on how to certify insects for human consumption as organic. And I thought, okay, they're onto something here, because I don't know anyone that wants to eat an inorganic insect.
Eric, would you eat an unorganic cricket?
No, I would not.
So,
Thing.
but I don't know where they are on this. I would hope, like right now with genetically modified plants do not qualify to be certified as organic. I would hope that they would take the same position with meat, and I expect they will, but I don't know the answer. I think it's too soon for us to know.
What I was able to pull up from Organic Federation of Canada, the Canadian Organic Standards, the legal rules that let a food be labeled organic, cloning is not allowed. Plus, there are rules prohibiting emerging technologies. Pre-fact, so they can, if it's going to be one of these biotech things, then the main body on which the rules are based prohibits it. Now, the whole field is a little bit murky as far as exactly who enforces that, who regulates it, what is organic, and there have been cases of gray areas in the past, I think, in North America on organic labeling, but on its face, it's against the rules. So, what do we have left? Organic. Any other questions, anyone? We have, I'm going to be careful saying this name, Tina Dyke. What happened to all the signatures you took to Ottawa? Obviously, you came in a little late. We did cover that the signatures were all delivered, and that's, the years of signatures. Second largest petition in history, but it remained open. So me, for instance, I sent in another, 42 signatures from Whitehorse, Yukon. When you consider the population of Yukon, it's about the size of a small suburb in Ontario. That's like sending 3,000 signatures. But they're still being sent in and collected even after we handed them off. It's a whole process, gets delivered to the clerk, and they count them. So that's the point that we're at now, and from there we'll see where it goes. Anything to add?
Yeah,
to that?
but we're hoping to have them entered. So the clerk of petitions has to count them. People can still send us petitions.
Yes, please do.
So and the number can just go up. But right now, the clerk of petitions has to vet the signatures and say there's this many signatures, and then they can be entered. So we're hoping in the spring, and we're hoping to fill the gallery with people that are willing to come. Like, you have to get your MP to put you on the list, but we'll talk about that once we kind of have a target date to work with.
Okay, great. And we'll post one up. It's a quasi-question, quasi-statement. If they force insects, what about people who are allergic to shellfish? Some insects will cause the same anaphylactic reactions in those who are allergic to shellfish. Very interesting. I know none of us is going to be an expert in that area, and I thought I'd put that up, something for future consideration.
Well, I think there's also something really wrong about it, whether or not the human body can actually digest the crustaceans or not, if you can actually digest it properly.
Yeah, taking these things shell and all. So, I mean, if
nasty.
humans were meant to evolve eating insects, and there'd be entire empires built with no one having to farm or cows, because insects are so easy to grow. They're everywhere. They multiply so quickly. If we were supposed to be eating them, we already would be. I think anybody that eats insects is not by choice.
We're watching a TV show or a series on meerkats. Meerkats like insects. I don't think we need to eat them. Leave it to the meerkats.
Yeah. Leave it to the meerkats. All right, we're through all the questions. I think we are at the end of the show, everyone. I wanted to thank everyone for showing up. It's great to be back after our decent Christmas break and vacations, and now we're back and we're ready to rock. Bill C-224 will be in front of all of us over the next couple of weeks. This is our final opportunity to participate at this stage of the bill's lifetime. And if we can make this an issue for our MPs, then we can get this thing passed before it goes into, we can get the vote passed before it goes into committee. Watch out for lots of clips and information from when second reading resumes on the 24th. In the meantime, everyone head off to nhppa.org/subscribe and get on our newsletter. We won't nag you. You get about one a week-ish with all the updates and information that you'll be looking for. If anyone has any closing thoughts, Shawn, Teresa?
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for, who's joined us live and everyone who will watch this. We internally enjoy these shows and getting to share with you and just kind of talking and dialoguing together. And we appreciate the feedback. And so just thank everyone for supporting us and encourage you to do what Teresa said and tell people to tell people.
Yeah. Tell people to tell.
NHPPA.org/volunteer. All right. Until next month, this has been the NHPPA Show, and we wish you good luck.